Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of CrisisComms, where I interview influential and inspirational leaders on how they're navigating the pandemic. I'm joined today by Sameer Bhide. He is author of the forthcoming book, One Fine Day. Sameer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Ashley. Really appreciate it.
All right, so tell me, how has your life changed since this pandemic hit us, and what are you doing to help cope and go through this?
So, for like everybody else, my life has changed dramatically due to the pandemic. And, since I have disabilities, it has taken it's changed for everybody, but for me, it's especially more. So, for example, I have to do rehab. I used to do physical rehab, and now I do video rehab, which has worked in my favor. I do my counseling sessions back home in the US. I'm in India currently, and I do my counseling sessions with my psychologist over a video, and I do a lot of my other doctor appointments over video. So video is the new normal for me, and as long as I can do the rehab on the video, that works. But it's really hard with what's going on. But it's, somehow you have to reinvent yourself.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about that. But before we dive into some of your advice and lessons that you have for our viewers, take us through your journey. You have such an incredible story. So you suffered an extremely rare and catastrophic stroke in your brain. You've undergone 2 brain surgeries. You spent a month in a medically induced coma, and that's why you wrote your book. So can you tell us about this journey of what happened to you, and then also what inspired you to write a book about it?
Sure. So before I get into that, I'll just give you my brief background. So I grew up in Mumbai, India, and it's a very big city like New York City, with about 20 million people. And then I moved to the States 30 years ago. To a very small town in the American South, which is a beautiful Lynchburg, Virginia, where I did my college. And after college, I did my MBA, and then I did a lot of traveling for work, and I moved cities. I was in Cleveland and Boston, and that's where I also came to like baseball, which was a natural affiliation for me, as I used to play cricket here. And then I finally settled 18 years ago outside Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. And so life was going on fine till 2017. And, one fine day in the month of January that year, just like that, I had this massive stroke, which, was extremely rare. It was a genetic form of a stroke. It was extremely rare. And obviously I had 2 brain surgeries. I spent about 30 days or so in a medical coma, and I'm still rehabbing from it. I went from being bedridden to a wheelchair to a walker, and now I'm on a cane. And I'm still, I have a lot of problems with the dizziness and the balance and so on and so forth. But I'm alive. I'm breathing. So one of the things which I wanted to do was to give back. I was extremely lucky, and I'm extremely grateful to be alive. I could have been dead. It was all over 3.5 years ago. I somehow survived. The cause of this stroke is so rare that half of the people who survive, it's like about 1,000 people in the US a year. And out of that 1,000, half of them die. Not half, many die, and many survive. So I'm in that survivor group. So I wanted to give back somehow, because I was extremely lucky to be alive. So how do I do that, right? So one way of doing that was to write my memoir. And how do I write it, right? With my condition, I can spend 10 minutes more on a computer beyond 10 minutes. So what I did is I said, look, I have to write this, and I want to write this. So my mission was clear. And how do I do this? So I found a ghostwriter back in the States who helped me write it. So the way it worked was I took notes. I sent the notes to this ghostwriter. He would write the book. And he'll send me the chapters. I mean, he'll send me a chapter. I'll make some additions, deletions, send it back, and then he'll send it back again. So that's how we completed 11 chapters, and that has worked well. So it's a memoir about my story on how for the last 3.5 years I've tried to embrace my new normal with grace, positivity, and gratitude, because that's this was all very sudden, right? So I've gone through a lot. I've accepted a lot of it with grace and gratitude, I think, and that's the only choice I had. And it's a story about hope and resilience. It's not a sob story. What, I had this stroke. Of course, it's going to talk about my stroke and the events leading to the stroke and my rehab and so on and so forth. But I believe it's an inspirational story on how one should prepare for your new normal, and how to go about doing it, and what it takes to repair your mind, body, and spirit. That was the key, because to me, before this stroke, I was a totally different person. I didn't believe in a psychologist. I didn't believe in holistic technologies and all that. So after the stroke, I wanted to heal my body, mind, and spirit. So I did both kinds of treatments. So obviously cutting edge medical technology, but also Western technology, but also a lot of Eastern holistic medicine, which I've tried. And my philosophy is, if it's not going to kill me, I would like to try it. So I've been doing that for the last 3.5 years. And this book has just, it's not a prescriptive book, right? It's not like a top 10 things to do when you have a stroke or when you're medically ill. This is a book where I'm relating my experiences, my stories, and giving people some ideas and suggestions and approaches for what worked for me, and how to embrace your new normal, looking at all these things. And this book is also about how my community of friends and colleagues, back home, which I call my adopted country, and over here in India, my country of birth, how all kinds of diverse people have helped me through this journey, irrespective of color, irrespective of caste, economic, spectrum, and all that. So, so I wanted to make sure that I capture all that besides my rehab and trying different therapies. So that's why I wanted to write this book, and I found a way to do it with the ghostwriter, because to me, anybody in the world, right, is one fine day away from a new normal. As I had no idea.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that. And I think this,
Right.
so it sounds like that's your message, is that like, you never know. So tell me a little bit more about like what one fine day means and what you want people to know about it.
Sure. So the reason I'm calling this one fine day, because one fine day means that life can and will change, and not just for bad things only, but also for good things. So both result in a new normal. So bad things like obviously medical illness, like a divorce, like a pandemic or a loss of a loved one or whatever. So these are bad things which could happen to you at any time, and it will result in a new normal. Good things could be like getting married, or birth of a child, getting promoted, changing a career, and so on and so forth. So no matter what the life change is, good or bad, it results in a new normal, and it alters our trajectory, and we have to successfully adapt to it. So the only choice we have is to embrace the new normal, and that's what I have learned. And it is no matter what it is. So that's the key, and it all starts with acceptance, and that's one of the chapters in my book, which is called Why Me, because right after the stroke, I was consumed with this thought, why is this happening to me? Why am I suffering? Why am my family suffering? And now, over the last 3.5 years, obviously it's never done. I don't think one can fully accept it anytime, but it's substantially less than it was 3.5 years ago. So it starts with acceptance, acceptance of your new normal, And self-pity and complaining are absolutely not an option.
Mm.
And and I think we have to face the new normal, no matter what it is. So one of the things in my book, Ashley, is I have this motif in the book, and I call it "It is what it is." So every time I face this ever-changing new normal, so I had three major events in my life, right? Starting with this medical stroke, and then I had to stop working because I was working 24 hours nonstop. Sorry, 24 years nonstop, and I had to stop working. And then I had a personal crisis. I also had a divorce. So these three life events, this came. So it was like a rug was pulled under from me. So this could be anything. So again, the one fine day again is it could be anything big, small. It could be personal. It could be professional. It could be physical or emotional. It could be a planned thing like an operation, or it could be a sudden stroke like me. So and good and bad. So I just want to say that look, no matter what it is, you have to be prepared, and acceptance is it.
It starts with acceptance. What a beautiful
Right.
Sameer. Sameer Bhide, author of the forthcoming book, One Fine Day. Sameer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, and for everybody watching Crisis Comms, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.